Hey everybody. Hope everybody's had a good Wednesday. Good weekend and happy Sunday. It's raining where I'm at today and we didn't get to go fishing. So I just decided I would start my Christmas cards, and the old saying that everybody does is Christmas in July. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make these two cards. Going to start our Christmas card making today, and I'm using a set out of our annual catalog. Right now we have our mini catalog that went live July the 1st, and it has lots of Christmas stamping and Stampin' Up products in that catalog. It's also SAB, which is Celebration. When you order $50 worth of stamps, paper, ribbons, embellishments, you get to choose from a free product. If you purchase $100, you get to choose another free product, and so on and so on and so on. For every $50 that you purchase, you get a free product, and you get to choose out of the little brochure. And I will link those in the description so you can view those with a PDF. So let's get started. I'm going to keep checking my phone to see if there's any comments or any questions. The annual catalog goes from May 2022 to April 2023. The mini catalog goes from July to the end of December, like the first couple of days in January. And the celebration, where you get free products, goes from July, August. So you have July and August to order and get free products. And the set that we're going to use today is on page 42, and it is called Peaceful Deer. And it has a stamp set that you can purchase, and or coordinating punch. I love punches. Punches make your Christmas cards or any card really easy to make. You just put in your cardstock, punch it out, and your image is there. So let's get started. Let me put my catalog down on the floor so I can have some room. This card here is just basic stamping. So I didn't use the punch in case you wanted just to purchase the stamp set. You don't have to purchase the punch to create this beautiful card. We've got some stamping in the background. We've got some circle dies we used, and the inside we also stamped. The second card that we're going to make is using that punch, so you can kind of see that it looks 3D and see how shiny. You can see some glitter on our deer, and I'll show you how to do that. And this card is using embossing powder and embossing ink, and I'll show you how to do that too. And the inside is also stamped. So our colors that we're going to use are Real Red, Garden Green. This one uses Pool Party, and then this one uses Gold Embossing Powder. And we've got a few champagne embellishments here. They're called, they are called Champagne Rhinestone Basic Jewels. And of course we use some Memento Black to stamp our deer. And then I used Soft Suede and Early Espresso to stamp the inside, the rabbit and the deer. And I used some Stampin' Blends to color that deer. If you don't have Stampin' Blends, you can just use whatever markers that you have. So first off, we'll start with the stamping card. And what we need is our paper trimmer and a full sheet of real red cardstock, and we are going to cut it in half, which is at 5 1/2. And this cutting trimmer I absolutely love because you can score with it too, and it comes with two blades. One is a cutting blade and one is an embossing blade. So you want to stick your paper in and take it to the 5 1/2 mark, and basically that's just going to cut it in half. And then I use my trimmer to fold my paper because it makes it nice and even. If you wanted to score it, you could. You would score it at 4 1/4, which would also be in a half. But I just use my trimmer and just fold it in half like that. And we'll give that a good crease in just a second with our bone fold. Since we're doing 2 cards, and I always say if you're using a full sheet of cardstock, you might as well make 2 cards. So we're going to give this a good burnish with our bone folder. And you just take that crease and just crease it real good. And then we need our white piece for the top and our basic white for the inside. So we're going to use another piece of cardstock and cut it to size. So you will need a piece of basic white, and you're going to cut this one 1/4 inch smaller than the dimensions of the cardstock. So you will put it in at 5 1/4 and 4. And this one is already cut at 5 1/4, so we just need to trim it at 4. And I always save my little bits because you can use it to stamp your sentiment. Like this one has a stamped sentiment, so we'll need this little strip, so save that one. So this will be for the front of our 2 cards, and now we need to cut our insert. So again, 5 1/4, and I'm going to put this piece in my scrap bin, and then I'm going to cut this one at 4 for our insert, and another piece for our second card, and put this in my scrap bin. So we'll set these 2 aside because that's our inserts, and we'll probably do that last. And I think we are through with our paper trimmer, but we do need 2 pieces of scrap because we are going to cut some circles. If I have a piece that's big enough. Let's see if this one's big enough. We have our circle dies, and I don't have a piece that's big enough. Out of all this scrap, you would think I would have a piece that was big enough. So let me just keep digging before I think that one will just barely work. So we've got 2 pieces of scrap. So that's good. So now we can put our paper trimmer up. Again, if you're just joining us, we are making some Christmas cards. So Stampin' Up! Also has a cut and emboss machine, and this is the mini. And let me show you the regular sized one. It's a little bit bigger, and I'll put them side by side so you can see the difference. This is the regular size one, and this is the mini. And my circles are enough, small enough that where I can use my mini cut and emboss machine. So we need our base plate, a cutting plate, and these are the circle dies. And let me tell you what page that's on. You get an assortment of circles. They are called layering circles, and they are on page 172. And they are, here is the assortment that you get. So you get some scallop shapes and then just some regular circles. So we are going to use, I don't think we're using the largest ones. We are using the step down. And I've already cut my scallop circle beforehand. So I've got 2 of these, one for each card. And I kind of like to put my stuff back up because things get lost. So we're going to put our cardstock down, our die in place, and we're just going to crank it through. The popping and cracking is normal. And you just take it loose, and there is our first circle. So we're going to do our second circle. And run that one through. And it just die cuts our circle for us. And then this is just pretty much waste, so we can put that in the recycle bin. And then I'm going to put my circle back in its little case so he doesn't get lost. So we are through with our mini cut and emboss machine. Now we are going to do our stamping, and I'm going to use my stamping mat because we are using photopolymer. And what I mean by photopolymer is you have red rubber, then you have these clear photopolymer stamps, and that's what we're going to use. So I need to clean my stamp if I can find my chamois, and this is just like a cleaning pad. So we're going to clean all of our stamps. And you just moisten this with just regular water. That one actually has some on the back of it. You just clean it with regular water. It will dry out. but that's okay. You just soak it in the sink or fill up a bowl of water and soak till it gets soft again. So we need our back stamp that we stamp in the back, and it was the image here that has stars and snowflakes on it. So we're just going to take our, well, let me tell you the ink colors. This is the Old Olive, Pool Party, Real Red, Memento Black. We'll need our scrap piece of paper so we don't get ink on our stamp mat. And the stamp mat just gives it a little bit of cushion. Now the red rubber has cushion built into it, so we're going to just, we need some extra cushion for, if you don't have a stamp mat, you can just use like that craft foam or a cardboard box, a piece of cardboard. And we're going to kind of stamp off the edge. That's why we've got our scrap piece of paper handy. And you can turn this stamp a little bit. I'm excited about the new mini catalog. I've got some really cute stamps coming, and I hope to be able to do some more videos and stamp some more, and hopefully get some people interested in making their own Christmas cards this year, because it's really easy. There is another little stamping device that you can use instead of using blocks. It's called a Stamparatus, and if you're doing multiple cards, it's really easy to do multiple cards really quickly. So I'm going to clean this off again because we're going to do that gold embossing on this second card. And what I use for that is, if I can find my embossing kit. I love it when I put things up and I forget where I put it. Well, maybe I'll find it in a minute. Things tend to walk off. Well, I don't know what I've done with it. Okay, well, we'll just continue with, oh, there it is, I see it. Right in front of my face. It's got a bright pink lid. You'd think you wouldn't lose something. Stampin' Up also came out with a new embossing kit, which has a little tray, which I just use a piece of paper right now in mine that has a tray that will catch everything. We're going to use some Versamark. This is a sticky ink that will attract our gold embossing powder, which is here. Nope, that's the glitter. More glitter. Here it is. Our gold embossing powder. We need our Embossing Buddy, which this is the Embossing Buddy, and you want to treat your cardstock first. And what it does is the oils and static will also attract the embossing powder and stick to it to places where you don't want it to stick. Now this is a clear sticky ink, so it's kind of hard to see where you're stamping. So we're just going to do this randomly. See, you can't see anything I'm doing. I can barely see it. But once you see this, after I put the embossing powder on it, it's going to be beautiful. Now I'm going to kind of hold it up to the light. Looks like I need something right here. And put our lid, because we don't want our embossing paste or powder inside our stamp pad. And put our stamped image inside this scrap piece of paper, and we're going to sprinkle our embossing powder all over it. And see, and this little piece right here that's not perfect, we're not going to worry about that because our circle is going to be over top of that. So what we're going to do is take our extra and just place it back in the jar. Now, this is where the fun starts. This is the excitement right here. This is what I absolutely love about embossing. We have a heat tool. Mine is not a Stampin' Up product. It's just one I got from the craft store years ago before I was a demo. And we're going to let it heat up. And then what this does is the heat melts this powder, and it goes from dull to shiny. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not. Okay, I'm going to turn it around so I can hold it. On the part that's already there. You can see it now. See, it goes from dull to shiny. Okay, I'm going to lay it down and look at it real good. Make sure we got all the ones that are dull to shiny. Now you want to let this cool before you touch it because you can smear it. So we're going to set this one aside and pull in our circle and work on our focal image. So we're going to stamp the deer first in Memento Black. And we kind of want him a little like he's kicking his feet up. So we're going to tilt him upwards. And he needs to dry. And we'll go ahead and do our second deer. And let him dry. And then we have one for the inside. So we'll go ahead and stamp him on the inside so he can be drying, and set him off to the side. Now, this is what I call a mask, and you can see I've already used it because he's got ink on him. This is a mask, and all it is some sticky notes. And there is a special kind of sticky note where the whole back side is sticky. So you can use this. This is the best to use, but you can also just use a plain piece of paper, but you got to be really careful with your mask if you're using plain piece of paper. It really should be sticky. So we're going to take one of these and we're going to put our mask over our stamped image. And we're going to take our Pool Party ink, and you can use a brush, a blending brush, or there are sponge daubers, or you can just use a regular sponge. Stampin' Up! Does sell blending brushes. This is actually a makeup brush that I got from the Dollar Tree. And what we're going to do is just come off the paper and do our background color, which is this Pool Party. And that's our background color. We're going to leave our mask on and get out our garden green. And if you're wondering, these are two different style stamp pads. This garden green is the old style, which Stampin' Up! Has recently redesigned, and this is the new one. I have not updated my older colors yet. So we're going to take the Christmas tree from that set. This is the stamp set. You get some smaller trees, several deer images, a bunny. This makes a wreath around the deer's neck. That's little rocks that you can put under the deer, or like ground effects to where the deer, it doesn't look like they're, you know, floating in air. And you can turn your doe into a buck. And then you've got several really nice sentiments with the set. So it's a complete set. You can do the whole Christmas card. You don't need like another set for words or like that. It's a full set. So we're going to ink up our Christmas tree. And we're going to stamp this one full strength. And then we're going to stamp off. And then we're going to do another one over here. So it's not looking pretty yet because we've got a pink mask on it. But it's getting close. Oh, stuck my hand in the ink. Inky fingers. So we're going to take our mask off and then we're going to color this deer. So the reason why we put the mask on there, so when we went to stamp our trees, it would have stamped on our deer and it wouldn't have been a really nice image. Okay, so Stampin' Up! Also have alcohol markers, and that's what these are. They're called stamping blends, and I am using the shade Dark Crumb Cake and Light Crumb Cake. So what I like to do first is just do my shading where the light would not hit this deer, or naturally the hair on the deer would be darker, like on the inside of its legs, its tail. And the reason why they're called blends is because you do the dark first, or you can do the light first, it doesn't matter. But you take your lighter color to the darker color and just blend in that blend in those two colors to make it look more natural and shaded. If you don't have blends, you can use any alcohol markers, or you can use any markers. If you don't have alcohol markers, you can take a light brown and just color it. So we've got some here that we need to blend. And his leg. And then I used pink Pirouette, which is not even a color anymore, but it's still good. So I'm still going to use it till it's dry. I'll stop using it. And not too crazy about the way this blended, so I'm going to blend some more. Now what I like to do is take my Stampin' Right markers. Stampin' has alcohol markers, and then we have regular markers, and this is the regular markers, and they're called Stampin' Right markers in black. And what I like to do is just go over the eyes and the nose and make those, and the hooves, and make those a little bit darker, because it kind of brings your animal to life a little bit. Oh, and I take the Early Espresso marker and just add some little freckles, some little spots to my deer, and maybe put a little bit of black on the tip of his tail. Just kind of makes him look more lifelike. So there's our deer, and I think I want to put that mask back on. And do some more blending down here so it's not so stark white. And there's our little deer. So we're going to take our scallop circle and we're going to pop him up. And how you pop things up is with something called Stampin Dimensionals. And everything that I'm using, you can find on my online store, and that's Stamping with Kathy at stampinup.net. And these are just little foam circles, where they're not really circles, they're not really octagons. I guess they're pentagons. They're just foam adhesive shapes. And we're just going to pop that on in the center. And we're going to take our card base and we're going to glue our stars panel, just using some liquid glue. I use this Tombow, which is also available in my store. And I get asked a lot on how come, you just can't use Elmer's glue. It's just really thick. It's a whole lot thicker, and it shows through with your paper. This is specifically designed for card making. So we centered our stamped panel, and we are going to glue this directly on that panel. We'll put it up close to the top because we forgot to stamp our stamped image at the bottom. So we're going to take that strip that we saved and stamp Merry Christmas from that set, if I can find it. There it is. Again, in front of my face. And we're going to stamp Merry Christmas. And we're going to trim it. And we'll have this other piece for our second card. The best thing to do is when you're finished with your ink is to close it up, because I just stuck my hand in it. We're also going to pop this up with Dimensionals. And put it directly under our focal image, like that. Now we have our rhinestones that we're going to put on the card. Let's get rid of this so you can see. We don't need that yet. So we have another tool that I absolutely love, and it's called a Take Your Pick tool, and it has a putty tip where you can pick up things with the putty tip that your little fingers may not normally be able to grab. And then it has a paper pierce tip that allows you to pick up these rhinestones. And the tip that I like about these rhinestones is our eyes like to see odd numbers. So we can either put 3 or we can put 5. I am a tendency to do 3. And you want to do a triangular shape. Our eyes like to see that too. So there is the front of our card, and see, it's a little different because I forgot to stamp my sentiment, but we recovered by doing this other sentiment. So what we're going to do next is do our inside, and this is what this card looks like on the inside. So we're going to bring back in our piece of scrap, find our background stamp, which was the stars and the snowflakes, and take our ink and just do a few across the top. And we've got our lady deer laying down. We're going to pull out our soft suede. Again, this is the old style. I've forgot how to open them up because I'm so used to using the new style. And we're going to stamp her. And our ground cover image so it doesn't look like she is floating in air. And do another one for our bunny. And there's our inside. And you just write your message. The front says Merry Christmas. So we are going to put on the inside, sending love and peace this season. And we're going to do that in real red. And we'll just put it down here in between our little deer and our bunny. So now we're ready to glue this one on the inside. And this glue, a little goes a long way. And you just want to center this on the inside. So there's the card we just made. Merry Christmas, sending love and peace this season. So this was the one that I made earlier. And this is the one that we made. Alright, so let's finish our second card, which was the gold background. So we're going to pull in our deer again. And we're going to, it probably doesn't really matter that we mask this out because we're going to actually punch the deer out, but I kind of like to make it complete and make sure there's no like if you looked under the stamped out deer, you would be able to see what's under there, so it just looks more complete. So stamp our trees again. Take our pool party and do some blending or sponging or sponge daubering. And this is just real light. You don't want to overpower it with the trees. Just kind of want to mask off that white. And take your pick tool, which is much easier to get this dude up. Or I guess that in our case that would be a dudette. And we don't have to color him because we are going to stamp and we're going to pull back out our soft suede. So we're going to color this one and punch him out. We'll let that dry a little bit. And go back to our blends. Use our dark where we think it would be shaded. Leg. and do some blending. Yep, this one needs to go on order. It's getting really dry. Okay, then we're going to put in the pink ears. I don't know if that shows up very well on camera, but then we're going to take our Stampin' Up marker and put a few dots to make him look a little bit more realistic. And then I always go in and do my nose, my hooves, and my eye a little bit darker. So now this punch has a little locking mechanism, so you just unlock it and then you lock it. So unlock it. And then you always want to pay attention to where your image will cut out. You don't want to stamp your image like this and try to, stuff it in there. So you want to pay attention on where that image is, and you want to center it. Let's see if I can tone this light down a little bit so you can see. So center, make sure all your legs are centered, your head is centered, the tail. Check it, check it, check it before you punch. And you can kind of press on it a little bit and hold it steady and check it all the way around, and then you just punch. This one also has the two reindeer that you can punch out, and then if you want a little red nose for like Rudolph, you can punch out the little red dot for his nose. Okay, so now we're ready to glue or adhere, because we're going to use two Stampin' Dimensionals on his body. And then we also have mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and we're going to put one on his head because the large Stampin' Dimensionals they're too big for his head, or her head actually. So now you want to take and place him over top of your stamped image, and you want to, before you press down, make sure he's exactly where you want it. So the next thing we need to do is attach him to our green circle, scallop circle. We're going to do that also with Stampin' Dimensionals, and I used 5, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, 1 in the middle. Remove the backings. Center. Make sure it's okay before you actually press, then press. Now we're going to adhere our shiny background we made to our card base, our real red card base. Center it. Make sure there's enough distance all the way all the way around. Oh, I moved it. It's a good thing about the liquid glue is you have wiggle room in case you don't like the way you put it on. You've got a few minutes, a few seconds to get it back where it needs to be. I'm going to take a sip of water. Alright, so we're going to attach our deer to our card base. And center it. And do our sentiment again. And we're going to maybe not have to cut this one and center our sentiment on our white, basic white cardstock. Center, center. And put 3 dimensions on this one on each end, one in the middle. Remove our backings. We are almost done. I think that is a little crooked on this end. Move it up just a little bit. Make sure it's, it's where you want it, and then press. Don't press and then decide you want to take it up, because it's a whole lot easier to readjust it when you haven't pressed it down all the way. Okay, so to make your deer shiny, this is called a Wink of Stella. It is basically just a glitter pen. It has a brush tip on it, and you basically just paint your deer with some glitter. Legs, feet, just coat her up. There you go, you can see she's all glittery. Now, last thing for the front is we did this little bow, and we're going to use the Simply Elegant trim. And I don't know about y'all, but I have a hard time trying to figure out where everything starts. So I end up with several ends on my baker's twine every time. So we are going to just make a regular bow, and then we're going to make it shorter. And just cut it off the spool, trim it up. And we're going to use glue dots. Glue dots are just basically what they are. They are a dot of that rubbery glue. And what I do is I just roll it. I take it and make it into a log roll. Just roll it with your thumb, your finger, to where it is the shape of a log. And then place it where you want your bow to be. And that's my glue dot. And then I'm just going to put my bow right there. So that's the outside, and we have to finish our inside. And we had this deer already. And what did I put with it? So I just turned him into a buck. So we need to put our sentiment, which is this one in real red. And our antlers. And I wanted to do him in a darker brown, so I did early espresso. And you can go online and view my catalogs. And then we're just going to put these on top of his head. Just like that. We're not going to color on it or anything. We're just going to leave them just like that. And you can see what all colors Stampin' Up has. They have what they call in colors, which means we get new colors every year. And so these colors that come out this year are Starry Sky, Orchid Oasis, Sweet Sorbet, Parakeet Party, Tahitian Tide, and we'll have those for 2 years. But the previous year, Polished Pink, Pelpa Pie, Evening Evergreen, Soft Succulent, and Fresh Freesia, they were here last year, and they'll be here this year, and they'll go out, and we'll get a new set. So we get a new set of fresh colors every year. So we're going to glue our inside. And that's it. That is our first set of Christmas in July cards. And since this card has the silver embossing, I'm not going to put any rhinestones or any bling on it. But since this one didn't have any bling and our deer is not painted with Wink of Stella, we added the rhinestones. So we've already got 4 cards made for Christmas. So that's it, y'all. I hope you enjoyed my video, and look for some more coming up, because I'm going to, like I said, I've got some really cute stuff coming in from the mini catalog, and if you want to take a look for the links to the catalog in the description below. And I will see y'all hopefully again soon. Bye for now.